Hi, I'm Aubrey. I'm here conducting an office hour session to go through the process of solving the homework. I've chosen the last question from our homework 5 as the material because many of my friends have spent a lot of time working on this particular problem itself and identify the relevant information. We knew from the problem that every week the river need to buy one item from 4 different types. That is figure, t-shirt, weapon, and display stand. You can show the letter on the right side to see that there are 4 different things. Go through the first information it gives us that her shoes can fit 2 stands nicely. When she buys a display stand, she will always buy a second one. And the week after buying the second one, he will never buy a stand again. That means that if I buy a stand in this week and I must to buy a stand in the next week, after I bought 2 stands on the next week, which is the 3rd week, that I can't buy a stand. That's the information we can get from this one. Sentence. When she buys a figure, she gets very excited about it and wants to buy a new t-shirt for it to wear the following week. That means in this week, if she buy a figure, and in the next week, she will must to buy a t-shirt. And that's what we get from the information in the sentence 2. Then you can look at the note. I think the note in this problem is very important for you to solve the whole problem. And the note 1 is very regular. It said we treat all items in a category as identical. But in the note 2, you may notice that on weekend, Raven will not buy a figure or a stand. You may wonder how this information makes sense in our solving process, and I will show you next. We always have 2 ways to solving the problems like this kind of stuff, like working backwards and working forwards. And for me, the working backwards, it means that this decision to the last decision. And it means in this problem is this week to the last week. And for the forward solving problem, it's about what we did on the first week. Then we can get what we did on the next week. Okay, first we use backward to solve this problem. At this table, you may wonder that why we only have T and W on our N week. Okay, why? That is because the note 2 that it said on week N it will not buy a figure or a stand. That means on week N there is no figure or the stand. So it can only show the things of the t-shirt and weapon. Then we come to the first situation that we buy a t-shirt on the weekend. And what can we do on our last week? What can we buy on our last week? That you can buy a t-shirt or weapon, because you can see we don't have any limitation about what buy next, the t-shirt or the weapon. So of course you can buy a t-shirt or weapon. And you may find interesting that if AN represent for the situation for the N week is t-shirt or weapon, AN minus 1 represents for the t-shirt and weapon on N minus 1 week. So that means itself is A minus 1. What else things can happen? Of course, we can buy a figure, right? Because when we buy a figure, you can see that after we buy a figure, we need to buy a t-shirt. So if we will buy the figure, yeah, but figure does not satisfy our requirement, because if we have. And what else things we can buy on the last week? Of course, the figure, right? Because from this, we can know that when we buy a figure, the next week we will always buy a t-shirt. So when we buy a figure on n-1 week, but it doesn't satisfy, because on the week n-1, Raven will not buy a figure. So we need to working backward for the n-2 day. That what happened on that day? Yes, we can buy a t-shirt or a weapon in n-2 day, because after that we can buy anything. So it satisfies our requirement for n-2. So that's the reason we use n-2 to conduct this situation. What else can happen in n-2 week? Yeah, we can buy a stand. Stand is good. And we knew that if we buy a stand, it means we always buy 2 stands in a row. So in n-3 week, we'll have to buy a stand. So what happened before the n-3 week? Because we cannot buy a stand from this. Buy a stand on week n-3. So we have to working backwards for n-4 week. On this week, we can buy t-shirt or weapon. And you may wonder that why we can't buy the figure. Because the figure, as you see in this part, always next is the t-shirt, and the stand doesn't satisfy the requirements, so we only buy these 2 stuff. And it shows that what happened on n-4. So that it represents the an-4. Okay, so are we find that all things will happen on n-1 week? No, that we can buy a stand on that week, right? If we buy a stand on n-1 week, as we see that it shouldn't be ending this week, and we need it back forward to n-2. No, it doesn't satisfy our need. No stand on n-2 week. Then after that, on n-3 week, okay, we finally got the t-shirts or weapons. Then it represents the an-3. So we added it up. That's what the thing happened when we buy a t-shirt on our weekend. When we buy a weapon in our weekend, what happened? And what we need to first to go through what happened in n-1 week. And it can buy t-shirt or weapon. I need to tell you more about that. That is, we cannot buy a stand. Why? Okay, then we need to discuss when we buy a weapon in our weekend, what happened. In our n-1 week, that is the last week, we can buy t-shirt or weapon. And it satisfies what identify for the an, right? So it should be an-1. And I need to tell you again why we can't have a figure in our n-1 week. That is because we got that when we buy a figure, then we must buy a t-shirt. So the weapon doesn't satisfy, so no figure. And what else? We can buy stand, right? And the stand must 2 in a row. And after the stand, like what we did in this part, and it's an-3 too. Then we need to add it up, all the possibilities here, and it should be 2 multiple an-1 plus an minus 2 plus 2 multiple an minus 3 added an minus 4. And that is what we do to using the working backward way to solve this problem. We use working forward way to solve that, and you may notice that the forward way is what we do on the first decision, that the first day, first week to the next week. So in the first week, we can do like by the weapon, t-shirt, figure, or stand. And you may wonder that why we can buy it on the first day. That is because we did not use an to represent the possibility here. We don't use an to A1 to represent that, oh, there are 4 things happened on the week 1. No, we just to show that we can buy 4 stuffs on our week 1. And in this working forward solution, our focus is not about we need to end it up with the t-shirt or weapon. We should end it up with anything. Anything means in this situation, we can buy weapon, stand, figure, or t-shirt. Not just weapon or t-shirt. So that's the different things between the working forward and the working backward. Okay, assume that we buy a weapon on our first week. So in the second week, what can we buy? Anything. That means we can buy a figure. Yeah, right, why not? And a t-shirt or weapon or stand. So that means the anything. These 4 possibilities can happen in our week 2. So that means if there is an, the things between an and the first week is the an minus 1. And if you are a little bit confused about the number of it, I suggest that you can deem the any as n, and you can find the gap between it. It is n and there is 1 thing before, so it's n minus 1. Okay, then we buy a t-shirt on our first week. Then we can buy anything like the weapon in our second week. That is an minus 1, 2. And if we buy a figure on our first week, and of course we must buy a t-shirt. Yeah, that's not any. We only can buy the t-shirt on the second week. But in the third week, we can buy anything. So if you use the way I said before, deem the any as n, it's an minus 1, an minus 2. So the whole possibility is an minus 2. Finally, we can discuss the last thing happened on our first week. That is buy a stand. Yes, 2 stand in a row means that in the second week we will buy a stand. Then on the third week, what can we buy? And you may figure that we can buy t-shirt or weapon. Yeah, but t-shirt or weapon doesn't equal to the any. We need to jump to the any. So after we buy t-shirt or weapon, the next week, that is the week 4, we can buy anything. So if you think this like the n, that is n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3. That is. And if you buy a figure on the third week, and in the next week you must buy a t-shirt. That is week 4 is buy a t-shirt. And after the week 4, you can buy anything in week 5. So that is n minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. That's an minus 4. So you need to add it up as we do in our backward solution. And you can find, wow, they show the same answer.